Good morning, friends, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. Hope you're having your favorite beverage, and thank you for the countdown whip. Appreciate that. Hey, let me get an audio video check. Audio video check. Great. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate that. Denny in the house, Salient Aquatics in the house. And these are moderators, which help to keep the stream family friendly. We're not going to see Cichlid Kings today. He has some personal things he's attending to, but Sam Perry from Australia, very, very cool, Sam. I really hope to visit your country someday. Angelo in the house. Hey, Angelo. Craig's here. Warren's here. And Price Tag. Love that name, Price Tag. Hey, Michael. Michael's in the house here. And Ex-Collie Kev. Hello, Ex-Collie Kev from Ex-Collie Ben. Peas and Haps. Hey, Peas and Haps. Good to see you. And I'm strolling and rolling through the chat. Hey, Frank. Frank Vera in the house. ¿Cómo estás, amigo? Mucho gusto en verte. And Mexicali Fishkeeper. Hello, my friend. Hey, Paul. Good to see you, buddy. And Tim. Tim is in the house. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name, Tim, but I'm glad you're here. And who else do we have here? Z-Zip. David Neary. Very, very good. So let's see here. I had a lot of fun last weekend. I did miss you folks. I did miss the live stream, and I was just like really close to, like, I don't know, should I try one from the place we were staying at? I mean, they had a pretty good Wi-Fi, and then I decided, no, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and prepare for the talk, and kind of hang back for a weekend. But I did miss you folks. I did miss this interaction, and the talk was very, very good. You can see here, they gave me a East Tennessee Aquatic Association. They gave me a T-shirt and a very nice hat, which I love, and very much appreciate that. Gave a species profile on eye biters and Malawi gars, two of what I call oddball and certainly unusual looking cichlids, African cichlids. And then I talked about how to keep the joy in fish keeping, and some of the things that I've observed over the years that can bring about a burnout in fish keeping, and how to both avoid that and come back from that. So that was the topic, the main topic, which took about 45 minutes. And if you want to see the talk in its entirety, visit the East Tennessee Aquatic Association site on Facebook, and they have a link to the full talk, the entire talk, if you're interested in that particular topic. So Finn Goldfin in the house. That's an interesting name, and I haven't seen you. Very, very cool. Hey, Tony. Tony is in the house. Tony Griffiths. And Midi Mac. Midi Mac, you didn't miss you missed last week's water. Missed last week. My water changes just weren't the same without. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing how many people tell me that they listen to the stream either live or replay it while they're working in their fish room. So I appreciate that. All right, let's see. Boss in the house. Dan Coate in the house. Very, very good. So at any rate, really enjoyed talking to a group of fish keepers. You know, I really love that environment. Like you feel when you go to like an aquashella where there's no there's no division, there's no politics, there's no nothing. It's all about fish, and you can kind of escape into that water world, if you will, and it is very, very relaxing. And the people there were amazing. One thing I noticed in the group I was speaking to is that it must have ranged from, I don't know, maybe on the young end to about 15. And there were some folks in the audience that must have been, I suspect, in their 80s. So again, another amazing thing about this hobby, that it doesn't have like a particular demographic that is limited to a certain age. Like maybe if I went to a Hello Kitty convention or something, the age range was all over the place, and it was very, very cool because of that. So at any rate, thank you folks for hanging back for a weekend, and I'm very glad to be back and be able to speak with you folks. Let's go ahead and do the official start of today's live stream. All right, now it's official. So I have a big box of stuff. My friends over at Sarah. Let me show you this. Klaus in Germany. I don't know if you watch these live streams, my friend, but thank you. Thank you for this. And you know what I do when I get these big boxes? I just share it. I just share it with you guys. Now, part of the reason for getting this is I didn't really give Sarah a lot of airtime in that Northfin video, because I had some of the veggie cichlid food from Sarah, but I didn't have actually very specific cichlid food. And so what I'm going to do is he sent me these two things. If you can make them out there with the glare. But one is extra large cichlid food for carnivores, and the other one is granular cichlid food. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a follow-up video where I'm going to do an extreme versus Sarah versus Northfin, and just really do an ingredient side-by-side comparison of these three, what I consider to be premier foods, just sort of the best of the best. I've also found that my Siamese algae eaters, my plecos, and my little autos are completely addicted to the Sarah catfish chips. These are the Sarah catfish chips. Let me take the plastic. You don't get so much glare, but you can see them there. I don't know if that helped at all, but anyway, they just love these chips. And so I asked him for some of these because I'd run out. But he also sent me the mother load of samples. And I've got community. I've got some community in here, mostly community, it looks like. Some probiotic. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do that little super chat game. If you super chat any super chat over $10 to cover the shipping. If you do $10, it doesn't have to be 20. If you do 10, I'll go ahead and send you out some of the Sarah samples for $10 super chats. And so it's not 20, it's 10. just go ahead and you can do that if you like, and you will get some free samples, and you'll help the channel a little bit. After shipping, it's YouTube takes 30%, and then it's about $6 or $7 to maybe $5 or $6 to ship, depending where you are. So maybe I'm an idiot. All right, so hey, if you really want to help the channel, consider becoming a Patreon. And big shout out to my Patreon members. They are really, really helping me to handle the day-to-day expenses associated with taking trips and maintaining things and acquiring things. I do get some sponsorship help, but that doesn't cover all of it, as you might imagine. So thank you very much to my wonderful monthly supporters, my Patreon members. If you folks would like to acquire some swag, like some t-shirts and mugs, be sure to check out the Teespring store. Use Livestream, all capital letters, one word, Livestream. I think that discount code, it's a 10% discount code, Livestream. Use that, and I think you'll get 10% off on coffee mugs, t-shirts, stuff like that. So there you go. There's the commercial. All right. So it looks like we've got some takers. Robert Egan, I'll send an email. Perfect. Yes, always, whenever you super chat and are getting something, always send me your complete mailing address, because I don't keep those necessarily. So yeah, Robert and Whip, definitely send me your mailing address. Now, I might have some Northfin samples also. So if you would also like me to mix it up, like, hey, send me some Northfin and some Sarah, let me know. I definitely have Sarah samples. I gave away a whole bunch of them. I just handed them out to everybody at the East Tennessee Aquatics Association. And the general consensus was that Sarah and Northfin are both quality foods. Now, on that note, I have completed my interview with Northfin, and that video should be out tomorrow. I'm just doing a little edit on the front end of it, because I used a different platform, and there was a little bit of a bleed through, a little bit of an echo in the very beginning that we resolved as we went along. But I'm going to redo the intro of it, and then I'll go ahead and release it. And it is an interview with the director of sales for Northfin, and he gets into some very interesting ideas on fish nutrition, how to prepare the food to get the best result for the fish. And the one thing that I came away with from that interview was that Northfin is first and foremost all about the fish, And I was very, very impressed. Sam Penny, bringing back a very fond memory. When he says Photoshop, he's talking about that red cap, that Lethrinops that I used to have. That was a beautiful fish. So I have something for you talking about fish. I didn't give you an update last week. Let's take a quick walk around the fish room. We'll start with the 210 gallon. And the fish in this tank are doing very, very well. They're following me around because they're hungry. I was a little concerned about the green tear eating, but I gave him a little bit of krill, and he went crazy for it, so I think he's doing better. But otherwise, it's business as usual in this tank. Gave it a real good vacuuming yesterday. getting a lot of the junk that settles in this kind of a substrate. See my two chocolate cichlids here. Never the same color twice. Relatively peaceful as far as cichlids are concerned. Kind of a purple brown, very pretty. Big giant vieja. Oscars seem to be thriving. Firemouth is looking good. So Denny's hanging around, chilling, heading for her cave. Jack Dempsey is growing very, very slow. Definitely bigger than when I first got her, but they don't grow that fast, I guess. I put a cave in here. This big giant cave that I have from, I picked it up from Unique Underwater Galleries. And I picked it and I put it in there with the idea that maybe the red tear that's in here will take to it. At first, he just ignored it, but now he's inside of it. And so what I'm thinking is, when I move him over, I'll move this cave over too, and that way he'll have an instant sort of familiarity and spot that he can get into. Not sure if you can see him in there. He'll come out if I throw some pellets. I've been also trying to hand feed him a little bit, and he's been going after it. I rearranged the tank a little bit to get that big cave in there. And, you know, he'll outgrow the cave, of course, eventually. I mean, he'll get too big, too fat for it. But for now, it's kind of cool that he's got a little place that he can kind of go into and chill. We'll come back and take a look at him in a minute. The 55-gallon, adjust the light a little bit. This white substrate overwhelms the camera. 55-gallon, I rearranged it a little bit to move some of the plants away from the water movement. A little bit of that black algae kind of creeping back a little, just a little bit, not much, but some, enough to prompt me doing something about it. But so now I've got a kind of a cluster of plants here on this side. I kind of like the look of it. Have an open swim area and then a bit of a jungle over here with hiding places that the neons really enjoy. Since rearranging, the neons have been coming out a lot more, and that's good. Now, one of the reasons why that algae might be creeping back is because the phosphate pads in the hang-on back filter might be exhausted. So I'm going to get some more of those and replace the ones that are in the filter. A little Sprite up there. You got this weirdo. It's a 90-gallon. Everybody in here is doing great. Hey, there's the red shoulder. He doesn't come out too often. Are you familiar with Severums? Can you tell if that's a male or a female? He scares the heck out of the red spotted, who's always kind of swimming with one eye on him. Buenos Aires tetras and the silver dollars are doing great, continuing to grow. The silver dollar's got some black in the body. It's kind of interesting. More of a prominent red anal fin. I think it's a male trying to court that female. The equivalent of a silver dollar breeding dress. The geos are rocking and rolling. AC Hecli. Let's go behind this tank to the 29 quarantine tank. And these electric blue Ocharas are just doing really, really well. I'm really happy with them. How active they are, how they've been eating, just how good they look overall. We're probably 10 to 15 days away from putting them into the 55-gallon community tank. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in there. They'll definitely be a centerpiece fish for that aquarium. Especially that larger one. He's just really beautiful, really popping. Got a large, a medium, and a extra small. So I got all three sizes. Here's the SAE. Just a whole family of pagoda snails in here. As well as my little clamshell snail back there in the back. Really cool snail, like something you'd pick out of the ocean. Little bushy nose. Go over to the planted, I don't know if you call this planted, all it has really on it is Sprite. But this is the live bear tank. See all my little fry that have somehow stayed off the radar of the hungry platies and mollies. I even think I've got a couple baby guppies that are coming along. But these fish are as active and colorful as always. To be honest, I really didn't think I'd enjoy a live bear tank as much as I have. Just all the different colors and the activity level. I've been just really happy with it. The color on that guppy. Beautiful guppy. Lyre tail here. Looking great. I've been feeding him the Extreme Community. And I'll be trying some other foods with him as well, like some of the Northfin Community and Sarah. So like all my fish, they get a blend of food. Here's the betta tank. Little Dumbo. I'll tell you something interesting. I had to remove the plecos from the red tear tank because he was harassing them. And when I took the pleco caves out, I found a coolie loach. A coolie loach that I didn't even know I had inside one of the caves. So he was moved over to this tank. So I've got like 3 or 4 coolie loaches in this tank on this side, along with a pleco. And then on this side is a betta and a pleco. Oh, there he is. Usually hangs out near the back. Love the way Dumbos move. So pretty, so elegant. Take a quick look at the 300. you tell they're hungry? They're all over on this side. As I move over, they'll follow me. But this tank pretty much is business as usual. I moved that larger rock back a little bit because the trout was building up a pit again. And of course I didn't want him to do that, because once he does that, he goes a little crazy. So that's a roundup, that's a lap, and that's a wrap of this week's lap of the fish room. Any questions, comments, or anything, just put them in the comments or in the chat if you're watching this live, and I'll be happy to address them. That vieja is just a big, giant, beautiful beast. But this Oscar is already comparable in size, and so I suspect he'll be much bigger than that vieja ultimately. Certainly thicker. The albino's growing a little slower. And then of course we got the green tear and the Jack Dempsey, which should be putting on a lot more size, but they're growing slow, taking their time, and that's okay. I promised you a look at the red tear. He's come out of the cave, and here he is. Just a beautiful fish, courtesy of Whip, who made a trip down here to bring him to me. Love the colors and markings on this fish. Keeping his eye on me. He wants some pellets. So there you go. There's a lap. I'll release that later as a standalone video. From where I'm sitting, the head of the red tear is sticking out of the cave, and it looks like he's looking right at me from the cave. It's actually really cute what he's doing, and I'm glad I did that, because now when I do transfer him over, I'll transfer him over with the cave, and so he'll have this already established territory that will travel with him, and hopefully that will make an easier transition. Hopefully the vieja will, or not the vieja as much as the Salvini, will try to claim the cave. There's 2 caves in the 210 right now, and both of them are exclusively the property of the Salvini, who just goes from coast to coast. Now, one of you asked about the growth of fish. I think I've heard that the genetic programming of the fish is going to occur but certain hormones, a ratio of hormones in the water could possibly inhibit growth if it's in a smaller tank that isn't getting big water changes. However, I heard that they will continue to grow, and in some cases, of course, they'll run into some issues because they do need more space. I have noticed this. I've noticed that when I've tried to treat a larger fish, let's say I put a 6 or 7 inch fish of any kind, usually a cichlid, in a 10-gallon hospital tank where there's very limited space. I've noticed that fish will not usually recover, or at least not recover fully, until I can get them into a space where they can have some swim room. So they start to get very miserable. They just don't like it, and so. But in the 210, I mean, the Vieja has grown like crazy. The large Tiger Oscar is definitely growing like crazy. The red Tiger Oscar, but the Jack Dempsey, and I'd say the Jack Dempsey is not growing hardly at all. The green tear is not really blowing up the way you would expect in size. Now, how much of that is the tank and how much of that is genetics, right? So we have a variety of factors going on. Hey, a super chat from Finn Golan. Thank you, my friend. That is, it says here, the first super chat ever from Finn Golan. This is a message from YouTube. So thank you for that, my friend. Welcome to the world of super chatters. Have you ever heard of a Malawi barracuda? Thank you for the Father's Day wishes, and a happy Father's Day to you and everybody else out there that is a father. I feel like we're the neglected. Whenever some athlete does something, usually, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. Hey, what am I, chopped liver? Anyway. But then when you look at the statistics, fatherless homes are directly associated with difficulty with children. So we play a bigger role than you think. But happy Father's Day to everybody, and thank you for that super chat, my friend. Please be sure to send me your full name and mailing address to ben.o.cichlid. Let me know what kind of fish you have, and I will hook you up. Let me know if you prefer Sarah or Northfin, and I will get you some of that good stuff. Some of the good stuff. This is food that's very researched and put together by very conscientious and dedicated individuals who are really all about the fish. I love that. So for those of you tuned in late, we are doing a giveaway. It's not $20. We're going to make it $10. Any $10 or greater super chat, you can go ahead and get some of this bounty. Some of the bounty for those of you that came in late that I got from Sarah. Big shout out to Sarah. Love you guys. Thank you, Klaus. I wish I could say thank you. And how do you say thank you in German? So, at any rate, take advantage of that if you like. Hold on one second. A big bug that needed to be removed before it crawled up my leg. I am in a garage, and garages do get critters. I used to have a little mouse that would come around. He looked like a long-haired, he's very cute. I used to call him Hap. He would run around the fish room, and then he would disappear, and one day he left and didn't come back. So, not because of anything I did. I liked him. He was kind of like my mascot. I'm hoping a hawk didn't get him. So, all right. Let's take up some of your questions. And yeah, on size, I do know that you can't put them in hospital tanks that are too small. That I think will inhibit recovery. At the same time, you don't want to use large hospital tanks because you're going to spend a fortune in meds. You've got that factor. But I think genetics have a lot more to do with the growth of the fish than anything else. So because I've got some fish that should be a lot larger than they are, but I have other fish that blew up. That Vieja blew up. That red tiger Oscar is blowing up. So we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. Let's take a look here at the chat. So hit me with your questions, my friends. I did have a little bit of a situation with the red tear. I think he killed one of my. I had two plecos in that 55-gallon, and I was able to pull one of them out. And then there was a small fuzzy thing floating around that I think was the other pleco. So I think he was able to catch up with one of them. So don't put small plecos with red tears. Usually because of their armor and because they're so good at hiding. And I had caves in there. But one of the caves was pushed up way against the far left side. So I think he made a game out of it, and he ended up getting one of them. The surprise of the whole thing, as I said in that lap around, was that I discovered that I had a coolie loach that I didn't know I had that had been living in one of the caves. So that was kind of cool. Like I got a free loach. All right, let's see if you have any questions for me. We'll go ahead and take them up now. Country, strong and free. What are your thoughts about the fluval bug bites? My fish love them and they last forever. The bug bites, I think, are good. I'm currently feeding the bug bites to my betta fish. And we have a gardener outside, so if you hear some humming in the background, that's what that is. But the bug bites, I think, are good quality. I feed the Northfin betta, the bug bites, and a Sarah color food to my betta. Hold on one second. I'll show you. You know, I'm real big on food variety. And so the bettas will get the Fluval Bug Bites Betta Formula Flakes. You make those out with the glare. And I also feed them Betta Gran, Sarah Color Food, and Betta Bits from Northfin. So I just alternate these different foods and provide them with variety. Why is that? It's because I think every food maker is doing their best and trying to produce, certainly the high-end ones are trying to produce the best quality product. But based on availability of the source of the materials that they're using in their food, of the nutrients that they're putting in it, the vitamin combinations. I mean, all of them have a little bit of a different slant, and so I feed a mix of food, just a broad mix, including frozen food. I give the betta bloodworms. I give the live bearers, the egg layers in the planted tank, the 90-gallon, the fish in the 90-gallon, and the fish in the 210, the South and Central Americans. They all get bloodworms, and I give the big African cichlids frozen krill. They don't get bloodworms because I've heard it can clog them up. Something very interesting that came up in the interview with Northfin was the relationship between aquarium temperature and how much you're feeding. Very interesting. Something that I hadn't thought of before, but it makes total sense when you hear about it. I mean, if you're running your tanks at 80 degrees, 82 degrees, or you have them in a garage where it can get pretty warm and just the ambient temperature will take your tank up to 81, the metabolism of the fish will be higher, and they'll need more nutrition. Now, ultimately, we all have certain like measurements, like how much do they eat within 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. Everybody has different measurements. For me, it's like you got to look at the fish. How does that fish look? Is he colorful? Is he active? Is his belly nice and smooth and full looking, or is his belly a little bit bloated, or is his belly caved in a little bit? Right? You got to take all those things into account. And if you have a little bit of a caved in belly, I wouldn't necessarily immediately assume it's parasites. I mean, you might have a fish that is a little bit low in the pecking order and can't get to the food, can't quite get to the food as quickly as everybody else. So what you have to do is be very clever in your feeding. Feed to one side of the tank, feed to the other, use some sinking food, use some floating food, and really keep an eye when you're feeding. And if you notice that some fish are not getting it, not able to get to it, then you got to get clever and work around it. Like the neon tetras in the planted tank, they usually stay down low, like in the crypt plants and in between the valve and under the wood. So I've got to put some of the crushed flake food on the top and then agitate the surface so it falls. And then the rasboras, the red-tailed rasboras, the regular rasboras, they'll go ahead and just eat off the top. The rummy nose will eat around the mid-range like the lemon tetras do. Lemons will hit the top also. And then I've got to make sure that I can get some algae wafers and some protein down to the bottom, because the catfish and the plecos, they also need protein. They need a little bit of protein. So, I drop wafers and I drop things that can actually help, get to them as well. So when you feed, just really look at where it's falling and who can get to it and who can't, and then watch that belly. The belly of those fish might start to fill out after that. All right, let's see some more questions. R. Baglio, the different foods is good, but can empty your wallet. Yes, that's true. I guess I cheat because I have sponsors, so I kind of cheat a little bit. So it's easy for me to do, but it's one of those places where I say, if you have to cut a corner somewhere, don't cut it on the food. Go with the best food you can afford, and if you need to cut a corner, there are other places. Like you could use, maybe you can use black diamond blasting sand instead of aragonite, or something like that. I mean, there's other places you can cut corners if you need to, but don't cut corners on the food. Video for geeks. That is a long fishless cycle, my friend. You have way more patience than I have. I just throw in a little bit of that Fritz Turbo and into some treated water, and then I go ahead and add the fish along with some media from established filters, and I want to see fish in there within 48 hours. So you are far more patient than I am. Vibes Aquatic, happy Father's Day. Thank you, my friend, and happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there, and grandfathers, and you're very appreciated. My father, as you might imagine, is no longer around, and I was from one of those families that was raised by a mother and a grandmother, but became a very close friend with my father at the age of 33. We established a relationship, and that lasted for over 20 years. So everybody has their own little story. So let me see. Paul Newman, yes, I do think fish eat better than Most people. Just like our dogs, right? Our dogs are getting, very high quality, real meat, and in some cases organic. And yeah. And then the owner goes out and has a taco go out to Taco Bell. All right, hit me with some questions, my friends. Let's see. Spell breaker. Why goldfish died all the time? Wow, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't think goldfish die all the time. As a matter of fact, goldfish are very, very resilient and can usually take a tremendous amount of abuse. There's something going on in the chemistry of the aquarium. It's either being overcleaned, which is creating an ammonia spike, which is fatal. Ammonia and nitrite. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong with that water chemistry. They should not be dying. They should not be dying. Country strong and free barracuda in a fish tank. Interesting and scary. There is a Malawi barracuda, and he's got a mouth full of big teeth. But I have heard that they're very, very docile. That being said, I would be reluctant to hand feeding him. And I thought about getting one, but they don't really have a lot of color. They're kind of like even the males are kind of a pale gray, silvery gray, and they're kind of they're kind of like fun to have in the tank just as a conversation piece because of how freaky they look. And of course, people are going to come in and go, "Oh my goodness, look at those teeth!" But they're not really. I like to see more color in my fish. Vibes Aquatic loves chopped liver. My mom used to wrap it in bacon and try and convince me it wasn't liver. Finn, go Finn. 2 sons, 2 months old, and the best thing to get them to sleep is to put them in front of a fish tank. How cool is that? I'll tell you, the benefits of keeping fish, it's a very long list. Now, they're a way to get your kids to sleep. Amazing. Oh, Whip's World. I've always leaned towards genetics. I think fish will grow to whatever size their genetics are programmed to grow to. If you inhibit that growth, though, lack of space, it just causes deformities. Now, I have heard, Whip, that the body size, and again, this might be related to all the hormones that are signaling to the fish don't grow as much. This is why folks who have fish that they want to take on size, a lot of size right away, they'll do big water changes, right? Get that size up so they can sell them. Certainly, they're just sort of pushing that. But I have heard that the body might stay small, but the organs will continue to grow and then ultimately get inhibited and to some degree crushed and unable to function correctly. If that's true, that is brutal, and that's where you get into the area of deformities. You also have a situation where a large fish will crash into the wall of a smaller tank or start to bang into a corner, and that can create a whole variety of issues, from deformities to damage to eyes and things of that nature. Salient Aquatics. I'm pretty sure if I bring one more tank into this house, the wife is going to put a divorce. I'm kind of glad I'm in the I'm glad I'm in the garage. This is my space. I do with it whatever I want. Not that my wife wasn't supportive back in California, where the whole house was the fish room to some degree, and I had aquariums everywhere. But I get it. I get it. What worked for me was negotiation. I could get another tank if I painted a room, or if I did a task that my wife had been wanting for quite some time. I would usually be able to barter, and I couldn't just show up with a 6-foot tank and say, "That's going in the bedroom, honey." Bayou 54 CTC, Ben, happy Father's Day. Being a father has been one of the funnest roles of my entire life. I have 4 very, very awesome children. And now being a grandfather is proving out to be just as awesome. So thank you for that. I hope the neighbor's cat didn't get hap, but it is possible. I have a neighbor who keeps, I guess it's doves, white doves. They might be pigeons, but she has a coop, and they go in there, and it's not too uncommon for me to see a hawk with about a 4-foot wingspan or greater come swooping down and try and get one of those birds. It's very scary. So there are a lot of predators around here. And if the hawks and eagles don't get you, the turkey vultures will. Desert Fish comes up with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. And if you would like some Sarah and or some Northfin, please send me your mailing address. Thank you for that super chat. You know, I have a question here from Mohammed Afiq, asking about the relationship between pH and CO2. Now, I'm not that familiar with the use of CO2. I do have a couple CO2 kits, and one from the Aquarium Co-op and one from JC&P, actually, that I hope to use someday. But I haven't really gotten familiar with CO2, even though I have heard that it can affect pH. If you folks can address this, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the, I'm going to pin this question. If you can help Mohammed with this question about the relationship between CO2 and that pH creeping, help him out. Country strong and free. Thank you for that, my friend. There are some people that will disagree with you, but I appreciate you saying that. Davey Larson, do I put air stones in all of my tanks? I have, of course, you don't need them when you have that Expert-Matic internal filters, because it creates a snowstorm of microbubbles. And I do have backup air stones that are attached to Aquarium Co-op and Higer lithium battery powered pumps. And when the power cuts out, those pumps will continue for 48 hours. I also have one from Fluval. It's called a Rescue air pump. So I have one of those in the 90-gallon. The a double outlet on this one. I'm putting the Rescue on the 210. And the whole purpose of that is to create surface tension breakup in the event of a power outage, because big fish need big oxygen. And if you have a power outage, chances are, if it goes over 4 hours, that your bigger fish are going to get into oxygen deprivation and they're going to die from a lack of oxygen. Your smaller fish will weather it and survive it, only because their oxygen needs are less. If you don't have battery-powered, lithium battery-powered backups, you can go into your fish room and agitate the surface of the tank. Even pour some water out in a bucket and pour it back in, and that will oxygenate the tank during a power outage. Don't worry about the media in your filters during a power outage. I've had power outages for as long as 11 hours, and there was no jump in in ammonia or nitrite. Don't worry about your beneficial bacteria. It will survive, usually very low oxygen requirement. It does need oxygen, but very low oxygen requirement. Your bigger fish will be the first to suffer. So that's how I use air stones. I hope that answered your question. And I am again cruising the chat for questions. You're right, Robert. Robert Sowinski. Multiple tank syndrome. Eventually, your budget will reflect a higher monthly overhead for your fish when you consider power consumption, utilities, and food. You're going to have a higher cost for your fish than for you. Oh. Now, someone asked about keeping discus. That there's a part of me that wants to turn that 90-gallon into a discus tank. Some of you know that. Not sure how that's going to happen. If I'm going to work that out with a cichlid shack, or maybe I'll approach Lisa, my friend over at Super Cichlids, and I'm not sure how I'm going to approach that and make a project out of it. Maybe make it into some type of a super cichlid promotion. But I love cichlids. I absolutely love. I mean, I love discus. I love the way they look. I saw some beautiful ones over at the Knoxville fish store. If you didn't see that video, the admins, maybe one of the moderators can put the link up there for that tour of that Knoxville fish store. I love them. Whipswirl is asking about a bicher. Love bichers. Love the way they look. They look like they're prehistoric, something out of Jurassic Park. I wouldn't mind having one. I've also really developed an interest in rope fish, and I absolutely fell in love with a tire track eel that was living with the discus at the Knoxville aquarium shop that I visited. And that tire track eel was so cute, and very mellow. Wouldn't harass the discus. Anyway, I'd probably keep one of those fire tire track eels before I'd keep a bicher. But the bichers are beautiful. I love them. All right, let's see. Any more questions that I need to jump on before we wrap up here? Country Strong and Free was out fishing. We don't talk about fishing or how much we love to eat salmon and tuna. We don't talk about that in the fish room. Salient Aquatics, I do use crushed coral as to buffer. And also the release of minerals into your aquarium, which the crushed coral will do, will help to stabilize pH. Those minerals are interacting with the and to some degree, buffering, right? The acid in the aquarium. So there's a buffering going on. Those minerals are helping with that. And so you want that calcium, you want that magnesium in there. And I remember seeing a video by Corey over at the Aquarium Co-op where he was putting crushed coral in. It looked like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he was putting a bit of crushed coral in all of his tanks, whether they were cichlid tanks, African cichlid, South community tanks. He was putting crushed coral in all of them for pH stability. So just something to keep in mind. And from time to time, you want to go ahead and you want to go ahead and refresh the crushed coral because it can become a little bit exhausted. Whip's World, yeah, the fire reels get big. That's why they would have to go into a 6 or 7 foot long tank. And I would definitely not put them into a 10 gallon. The one that I saw in Knoxville was in like a 500 gallon, 360 degree circular tank with filtration in the middle. So he had plenty of room to play around. And he was coming right up to the glass and interacting with me and just adorable. It was like just a puppy dog. Michael, if you're experiencing swim bladder issues, those are extremely hard to take care of. I think really all you can do really is hit them with some salt in a small aquarium, maybe a tablespoon for every 5 gallons at first, and then maybe bring it up and just hope that might create enough change in the body. I haven't had a fish that came back from a swim bladder issue. Now, if you Google swim bladder surgery and swim bladder problems on YouTube, I remember coming across a crazy video where somebody actually did like a procedure on a fish and got the swim bladder to start functioning right. So maybe there's a solution, but you've really got to weigh that against the cost of the fish. And I think this was on a very expensive fish that they're trying to save. But I personally have never really had a fish come back from a swim bladder issue. That's a good tip. Salient Aquatics, putting your crushed coral in mesh bags. That makes it very easy to swap out. I've just been mixing it in with the substrate, then just adding another handful or two, maybe after every 6 months or so. I do have it also in mesh bags in sumps, and that's the big advantage of a sump. Anything you want to add or take out, including meds, water conditioning, anything, you can just add it to the sump and not mess with the aquarium. So, and get the benefits that way. D gets salute from Fort Worth, Texas. It sounds like you're getting a mug for Father's Day. Very, very cool. Thank you for doing that. And he's talking, of course, about going to the visiting my Teespring store, which I talked about earlier. And this is where you can pick up goodies like mugs and T-shirts and all kinds of good stuff. And this is the new T-shirt. And on the other side of it, it has the for success, mess less, or want success, mess less. And there's all kinds of other stuff there. Use Livestream, all caps, one word, and you will get a discount at the Teespring store. And for those of you who arrived late, if you want to pick up some Sarah and some Northfin food, it's not $20, it's $10. But any super chat over 10, I will send you out some Sarah and or Northfin. Be sure to send me your mailing, full name and mailing address, and I will get that to you. So there you go. Looks like we're on the hour. I appreciate all of you joining me here today. It's so good to be back and be able to interact with you folks. And hey, GP, have you been here the whole time, GP, just hiding? It's good to see you, buddy. GP, of course, one of the moderators like Salient Aquatics. So thank you to all my wonderful moderators. Thank you to my Patreon monthly supporters. And thank you to all of you who show up every Saturday. I love you guys and gals. I really love the interaction. I'm glad I'm back. And I will see all of you this coming Saturday. And be sure to watch for the North Fin interview. That should be available tomorrow. And if you are interested in sumps, be sure and catch the no flood sump video that I posted this morning. Moderators can provide a link here on the chat if you like. And I think that's it. I think that's we've used up our hour. Go and enjoy your weekend. Have a wonderful Father's Day. I'm going to be spending time with my 2 kids that are in town, my son-in-law and my granddaughter. I do miss my boys who are out of town, but duty calls, and so they have to do what they have to do. And hey, thank you for that last minute super chat there, and much appreciated by Davey Larson. And Davey, if you'd like some food, and by the way, those of you who super chatted, if you would like a channel sticker, if you don't have one, let me know in the email, and I will include one of the holographic Cichlids and Coffee channel stickers. So just let me know in the email if you would like a channel sticker. Okay? So thank you, my friends. Have a wonderful Father's Day to all of you, and I will see you folks next week. You are the best. You rock. And that's it for me. Bye-bye.